Hola estudiantes, hoy tenemos nuestro primer video en una serie de 3 videos sobre el pretérito. Hoy hablamos de los verbos AR en el pretérito. So today we have our first in a series of 3 videos about the preterite. Today we're going to be talking about AR verbs in the preterite. Then we'll talk about ER and IR and irregular verbs. The preterite is maybe a little bit tougher than the imperfect, but I know that you'll still be able to learn it without any trouble. You might need to employ some flashcards or another memorization technique. But first, let's take a look at the endings. So, in the present tense, if you'll remember, we had o, as, a, amos, ais, and an for our verb endings with AR verbs. In the preterite tense, and remember the preterite tense is the past tense discussing single actions that happened one time or just a fixed number of times, actions with a specific start and ending point. Okay, so these are a little bit more sudden than the imperfect tense. So in the preterite tense, we have e, which goes with yo, aste, which goes with tú, o, which goes with él, ella, and usted, amos, which goes with nosotros, astes, which goes with vosotros, and aron, which goes with ellos and ustedes. You can see some connections between the preterite and the present. So, for example, ellos has an N at the end of both an and aron. Vosotros has an IS at the end of ais and astes. Okay, there's the exact same ending actually for nosotros, amos and amos, so that one's really easy to remember. And then there's a connection between the AS in the tú form in the present tense and aste in the present tense. Okay, I'm sorry, in the preterite tense, so there's a connection there. As and aste. So there's several connections, but there's also some that look a little unfamiliar, like yo going with e, okay, and él and ella going with o. That's kind of a switch compared to the present tense. So make sure you keep an eye on those especially. When I was taking Spanish, my teacher used to make us chant the preterite endings all the time. E, aste, o. Amos, astes, aron. E, aste, o. Amos, astes, aron, until we had them memorized. That might not be a bad idea for you, or you could make some flashcards. We're also going to practice a lot in class. So take a look at how a preterite tense verb would look with these endings. Okay, so let's look at saltar. In the present tense, yo salto, tú saltas, él o ella, usted salta, nosotros saltamos, vosotros saltáis, ellos, ellas, y ustedes saltan. Okay? In the preterite, it is yo salté, tú saltaste, ella o él o usted saltó, nosotros saltamos, vosotros saltasteis, y ellos, ellas, y ustedes saltaron. Okay? Do you hear how that sounds a little bit more abrupt or sudden than the imperfect tense? Okay, so that might help you remember that the preterite is used for sudden actions, especially these that have an accent mark on the last vowel. They kind of sound like a jump back into the past. Yo salté, I jumped. Él saltó, he jumped. One time or a specific number of times. Let's look at some more examples. ¿Qué quiere decir tú dibujaste en inglés? Tú dibujaste means you drew. Okay, so one time or a specific number of times you drew. ¿Qué quiere decir ella llamó en inglés? It means she called one time or a fixed number of times. ¿Qué quiere decir yo compré en inglés? Means I bought one time or a fixed number of times. How about some examples in English, and you get to give me the Spanish word. This is a little bit harder. If you need to use your notes at first, that's totally fine. So, ¿cómo se dice en español we arrived? The verb is llegar, and we want the nosotros form in the preterite. It's llegamos. Remember that in the preterite, the nosotros form is the same as the nosotros form in the present tense. ¿Cómo se dice en español? They stole. So we want the ellos form of robar in the preterite. They stole is robaron. Do you see how it still has an N, indicating that it's ellos, but we add a little bit more, robaron. How about I returned one time, or a fixed number of times, so we want the yo form of regresar in the preterite tense. I returned is regresé. She threw the ball in the preterite tense. That would be ella tiró la pelota. Okay, remember that accent mark on the final O helps us remember that it happened in the past. Ella tiró la pelota. All of a sudden. How about you screamed? So we want the tú form in the preterite tense, and that is gritaste. Tú gritaste. So next week we'll talk about ER and IR verbs. For now, study your notes about AR verbs and come prepared to practice in class tomorrow. Hasta mañana.